Good evening from New York. I'm Antonia Hilton, in tonight for Chris Hayes. Throughout the 2024 election cycle, Donald Trump promised mass deportations would begin on day one. But now that entire agenda faces a potentially major setback, as the very agency tasked with carrying all those deportations out is officially in a shutdown. Funding ran out at midnight on Saturday. Thousands of workers in TSA, FEMA, and the Coast Guard are working without pay. ICE and CBP, however, are still funded by Trump's big, beautiful bill, of course. Democrats are demanding reforms to ICE, CBP, and the raids conducted by their masked armed agents who are still terrorizing neighborhoods across America right now. Late last night, Democrats sent the White House a renewed list of conditions for funding DHS. They reportedly include tightening warrant requirements, unmasking agents in the field, and stopping indiscriminate roving patrols.
They need to be reined in. They need to stop the violence. And the question that Americans are asking is, why aren't Republicans going along with these common sense proposals? They're not crazy. They're not way out. They're what every police department in America does.
And Democrats in Congress are really digging in right now because they see that as Americans overwhelmingly sour on ICE for the first time in a very long time, they can play offense on an issue that has for so long put them on their back foot. The White House recognizes this, too, and suddenly they are trying to do somewhat of a rebrand, quietly shelving some of the loudest, proudest cheerleaders for sweeping deportations. DHS Secretary Kristi Noem is reportedly on thin ice right now, sidelined by Trump in an Oval Office meeting after facing public backlash for lies told in the aftermath of the killings of 2 Americans. Now, a Wall Street Journal investigation is raising new questions about Noem's close relationship with her unofficial number 2. Serial accused harasser Corey Lewandowski, of course. The Journal reports that the pair is image obsessed, traveling together in a luxury jet with a private cabin in the rear and firing or transferring civil servants who question their demands. And today, a source confirms to MS Now that someone is actually stepping down. It's Tricia McLaughlin. You definitely know her, the Department of Homeland Security spokeswoman, known for her combative posture to the press and a relationship to the truth that is at times tenuous.
There's a highly coordinated campaign of violence against our law enforcement. And there are foreign terrorist organizations who are going after our law enforcement, who are shooting at them. The Democrat Party has decided that violence against law enforcement is okay. These rioters, these Democrat politicians are protecting the worst of the worst criminal illegal aliens among us. These agitators, these rioters are protecting these criminals. They're talking about this is racially based. Absolutely not.
For the past year, McLaughlin has basically been the main gatekeeper for information out of DHS, and she has provided journalists, including myself, with non-responses, outrage at our lines of questioning, even smears for the immigrants whose stories we've told on this network. Blame for the protesters for the violence that they suffered, suggesting Renee Good, for example, was a domestic terrorist, saying Alex Preddy violently resisted the officers who shot him to death. And when DHS social media accounts began to push out a steady stream of content that experts warned were full of racist dog whistles and white nationalist content, McLaughlin dismissed criticisms as cherry picking. And like her boss, Kristi Noem, McLaughlin has faced questions about possible corruption. Last year, ProPublica investigated a $220 million DHS contract to produce a series of video ads starring Kristi Noem. And the main beneficiary of that contract was a company whose CEO is married to, you guessed it, Tricia McLaughlin. She told ProPublica, quote, "My marriage is one thing and work is another. I don't combine them." McLaughlin explained how she views that work in an interview last month with her hometown paper, the Cincinnati Enquirer. Quote, "Media is so much of the battle, so to speak, on the immigration issue, so much of the debate is a public relations debate. It's a PR war." McLaughlin often fought dirty in that war. And now it appears she's throwing in the towel, leaving behind a badly scarred department after setting its credibility and at times her own on fire. Make no mistake, DHS is still, according to experts and judges, regularly violating people's rights, taking orders from Donald Trump and Stephen Miller, of course, and they have the massive war chest that they got in Trump's big budget bill. And even this shutdown can't keep their agents off the streets right now. But their momentum is slowing. Their agency is in limbo, and their spokesperson is now out the door. Akayla Gardner is MS Now's White House correspondent, and she joins me now. Akayla, it's good to see you this evening. So Tricia McLaughlin was doing TV hits yesterday and talking to her hometown paper just a few weeks ago. So what could possibly lead to this announcement today?
Antonio, we learned today that Tricia McLaughlin's departure had been in the works since December, but she stayed on board to really oversee the department's messaging response to the killing of Renee Good and later Alex Preddy. Now she is announcing this news that she is leaving the department, and it comes at an incredibly turbulent time for DHS. It is right now, of course, in a partial government shutdown. You're also seeing Kristi Noem's leadership continue to come into question. She's expected to testify on Capitol Hill in March. She's going to be facing tough questions from lawmakers about her agents' tactics, particularly after we saw Minnesota. But what's really notable about this moment is Tricia McLaughlin has been one of the most visible spokespeople of the administration, perhaps only outside of White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt. And that is not typical for someone of her stature. Someone leading comms for an agency, a federal agency, is typically a very low-profile role, but she has had this incredibly aggressive posture going after journalists and news organizations on social media, which is really a reflection of the fact that the president sees his mass deportation agenda as instrumental. But there's major questions about what this looks like going forward. We're seeing that drawdown of troops, of federal agents in Minnesota. And there's questions about, now that the midterms are coming up, the president sinking approval ratings when it comes to immigration. And this notably comes before perhaps Democrats capturing the House. And we could see a potential impeachment vote of the secretary come this time next year.
Well, to that point, quickly, Akayla, we also know that Trump advisors and members of his cabinet, they're planning to meet soon to talk about a midterm strategy. What else do you know about that?
Yeah, Antonia, I've been covering and reporting on the White House's midterm strategy. They're very aware that the president's approval ratings are sinking, and they're getting feedback from Capitol Hill, from lawmakers, that the president really needs to change posture and focus on the economy. But the immigration approval numbers have really also affected the president, particularly with independent voters, with Latino Americans. These were really part of a coalition that President Trump built in 2024, and there's major questions about whether that coalition will even show up for Republicans come the midterms.
Akayla Gardner, thank you so much for your great reporting.